your old pal Vince Russo has claimed that he is going to stop watching wrestling soon. Let me give you the quote.
I read this.
Let me give you the quote, for heavens to Murgatroyd. Anyway, as my retirement plan now comes into form, I can tell you that on my 65th birthday, I will stop watching any and all WWF programming for good. So
WWF?
that plays into what I'm wondering. That hasn't existed since 2002. So that leaves about 11 more months of me being one of the only podcasters who will be brutally honest with you about the poor, underachieving creative quality of the show. So enjoy the honesty and truth while you can. So the honesty and the truth of Vince Russo is only around for 11 more months.
Aren't I giving honesty? Aren't I giving truth? So he's saying that what I'm giving out isn't what I'm feeling? I mean, I'm not holding that against Vince. I think he's making a point, but so he's saying now he's giving. When is he going to give the honesty and the truth? After he retires or right before?
Oh, it might coincide with exactly his 65th birthday.
Yeah.
So apparently he's stopping watching WWF wrestling. So he's not going into the archives, I guess. Okay, so what do you make of this then? So I've asked other people, and they said, yeah, he claims he's going to retire every year. It's like, well, you just retire then if you hate it. Vince Russo has so many times, even in his books and I imagine his podcast as well, talks about how much he absolutely hates pro wrestling.
Yeah, I've told him that before. I said, Vince, yeah, we'd be in a conversation and we could have conversations, and I didn't agree with him. And I told him, I don't agree with you. And he would say, well, a lot of people don't agree with me, but I've told him before, Vince, you literally hate wrestling. I don't know why you even report on it or try to even write for it, because he's the type who would say, I think, you go through this flippy flop, boom, boom, and then hop up like nothing happened. He's a supporter of that, I guess. But if you're trying to tell a story, say you went, say that this might be the best way I can tell it. Two guys are going to try to convince this girl that they're fighting over her or they're fighting over something, and they go out in the yard and the guy gets punched and he goes down. If he gets right up and fights back, well, the girl is thinking, well, hell, these two weak guys. He hits him and he hops right up. But if the guy gets up, now if he wants sympathy from that girl, he gets up and he sells it. But I don't know who wouldn't do that. But see,
is Vince Russo the girl in this who's looking for sympathy by any chance?
Well, I think he's trying to tell a story. I may got that story all rounded up and leveled off, but the thing is, I think Vince looked at wrestling as just a paycheck. And, it seemed like you wanted to make it the best you could make it so that paycheck would go up a little bit or quite a lot if you told it right. But I don't know about Vince. He literally, and I see the way he got into business, told me he was doing something for. How did he get in the business?
Oh, I think the story goes that he had a video store and then he sponsored a local radio show, and then he sort of via that got onto the radio show and then started interviewing wrestlers, and then from there I don't know if he submitted something to the WWF, but he got through via the WWF magazine as an editor, and then I guess Vince McMahon liked some of the stories and brought him on as a TV writer. So from there, that's the very rough story. But I mean, that's the point. I mean, Vince Russo goes on about how much he hates wrestling all the time, but it's like you can't hate it that much because you've got 48 podcasts a week on wrestling. I mean,
how do we do?
Oh yeah, we destroy them all. Don't worry about that. But Yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, if you hate it, because it's like in one of his books, I think he talks about, wrestling has taken everything from me. All the wrestlers or most of them I've worked with have all been selfish or horrible or blah 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 blah. And it's like, man, if it's like affected you this badly, if I had a
Yeah.
job that affected me this badly, I would never work in it again. Yet he's still in an ancillary kind of way, as much as we are, I guess now, involved in the wrestling business as an outside commentator. So if you hate it that much, just I don't know. You should have quit 25 years ago, I guess.
No, no kidding. But he has a different version of wrestling that he adheres to, and I don't agree with that. And sometimes when I think he had some decent ideas, except he would rush through them so fast, the people wouldn't even know there was an angle there after the third week. It's gone. He would actually right away. I mean, not right away, like immediately, but right, WRIT. He would right away all his time. He would get in it and get out of it before you even knew it had time to grow. See, these people don't think wrestling 24 hours a day like he did, or we do. Or I mean, I don't. I quit that years ago. But when you write something, you're writing a story, and if the guys are two decent competitors or two decent talents, they can stretch. See, some angles are written back in the territory days. Some angles were written for 3 weeks. Say you wrote an angle just for a big show, 3 weeks away, okay. But now, does this angle, can you stretch it to the next big show, which is say 4 weeks away? Can you get 7 weeks out of this angle running straight? Well, possibly not. But if you put another person in there and did something else, and then you can actually beat the heel. But as long as he come back and got revenge for that big match, you could stretch it that far. I've seen some angles go, and look at Roman Reigns. How long has he taken this bloodline? For years?
That's interesting, though, because the bloodline looks to be pretty much done now. It seems that Jacob Fatu is going to be a babyface. Now Solo Sikoa seems to be on the way out. Roman Reigns is goodness knows where to be. It almost looks like it's petering out finally. But yeah, that's been 3 years plus.
Well, that's what it looks like. But if they didn't want to finish up the bloodline, then I think it is time to finish them, just because of the sheer amount of time they've invested in them. But now they have something to replace it. Mm-hmm. They got Cody and the Rock. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now they got something that's the meat and bones of what they got to offer. Before it was all bloodline, it was all Roman. But now, since they want to move past that, because the first time a writer sits down and he wants to think about these talents together, if he's hitting a block, he needs to get out of it. Now he has Cody and The Rock and all their, I'm going to call it tentacles, wherever they can reach. And the Cody, he could go and talk to anybody. Roman, The Rock, he can go talk to anybody. But rest assured that somewhere in this, it's going to be Rock and Roman. They will go for a big payday, and they'll get it. If they do it halfway right, they will get it. The thing is, what happens to Cody? I hope they don't try. And sometimes some talents do get hurt when they step from that top spot just to make room for somebody else. They get hurt just a little bit, but I think it would be a massive miscarriage of justice if Cody somehow he slipped out of the main event spot. He's got to be in there or close to it. I think he will be.
We're going to be getting to Cody in a minute, actually. Just before we get off Russo, Okay, so he's threatened to retire many times in the past. He's saying in 11 months on his 65th birthday he's going to stop watching wrestling, and he's, I guess, going to stop podcasting about modern wrestling or wrestling as a
what's
whole.
he going to do? What's he going to do?
Well, here's what I'm going to say is, do you actually believe for 1 second he will stop podcasting and talking about wrestling and watching wrestling on his 65th birthday?
No,
or he will
because
just
this is-
continue?
I think, yeah, he's going to continue on. I mean, what else is he going to do? He's done this his whole life. So all of a sudden, what's he going to talk? Like planting flowers? Or like working on cars or so? I don't know. He's been in the wrestling business his whole life or around it. And a lot of it's been just bitching about wrestling. No, he's not going anywhere.